doing it right from an SEO perspective is going to give you an advantage on the AI front. So there's a lot of overlap. It's really important. It's a long-term game. The more you invest there, the more likely you are to have wins over the long term versus quick wins, spits and bucket can be fleeting and ever changing on the paid media front.
Welcome to the Sterling Family Law Show, the show for family law firm owners who want to grow their profits, multiply their cases, and set a clear roadmap on what they need to build so that they can have the firm of their dreams. Our episodes break down proven business growth, digital marketing, and revenue-first strategies to help you scale smarter, not just busier. I'm Tyler Dolph, the CEO of Rocket Clicks, a business growth consultancy that exclusively helps family law firms drive more revenue and increase profits through full service development. Today, we have Tony Carls, who is the co-founder of our sister law firm, Sterling Lawyers, that has grown to over 27 attorneys. Today, we are talking about a big skeptical question. You know, the world around us is shifting and changing below and beneath our feet. Is SEO even worth it for family law firms in 2026? We are going to break down the skepticism around SEO, the real math behind family law SEO, and how AI is shifting everything. Tony, welcome back to the Sterling Family Law Show. Today's a hot button topic. We're going to talk about the emergence of AI, and is SEO even relevant this year for family law firms? Obviously, we think the answer is yes, but we're here to spell out 5 truths about SEO for family law this year in 2026. And the first one is legitimate, right? The skepticism is real and justified. I mean, just this week, we've seen huge updates from all of the big AI companies, and it is disrupting this space in a big way. But talk to us about some of this skepticism and what law firm owners can do.
Yeah, I would say AI is continuing to emerge as a source for people as they're researching, but a lot of what AI is using to identify information as quality is the same structurally as what is used for SEO to rank in search engines. We're still on the early adopter curve. So a lot of people are still using Google to do their searches. So, to think that SEO isn't important for you is wrong. And the AI tools, they're also using a lot of what's coming from both Bing and Google to support what they're doing. For instance, they are pulling in map rankings directly from those two platforms. OpenAI is. Obviously, Google Gemini is using its own. It's definitely using Google Maps and Google Search as a basis for its information repositories. So SEO is just as important as it's always been. We might see different entry points, but the need for doing both search engine optimization as well as AEO AI optimization is going to be really important. And a lot of the fundamentals are the same. There's a significant amount of overlap, but there is some difference.
Yeah, I think the way that we think about it here today is like AI optimization is just part of what you have to do if you're thinking about organic search optimization and website optimization, because it's all so intermingled that if you're doing one, you have to do both. As it relates to SEO, and I think some firms realize this, that it's not the overnight light switch that maybe PPC can be and Google Ads could be, but the benefit of dominating SEO for the long term is the most profitable channel that firms can use. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. And it's just investment over time. Every day you should be doing something to improve your overall website's footprint. And that's going to definitely impact your ability to be visible in the AI LLMs. So whether that's OpenAI or Gemini or Claude, they're all leveraging the same repositories of information that are online, and doing it right from an SEO perspective is going to give you an advantage on the AI front. So there's a lot of overlap. It's really important. It's a long-term game. The more you invest there, the more likely you are to have wins over the long term versus, just quick wins, spits and bucket that can be fleeting and ever changing on the paid media front.
I think we're We're fortunate and blessed enough to work with a lot of family law firms across the country. And the data that we consistently see is that over 40% of all family law leads come from the maps, right? They come from those near me searches or the divorce attorney plus town name. And so if you're not optimizing for that eventuality, you're leaving so many leads on the table. All right. Number 2 is family law SEO has the best ROI ratio in legal, which I think we've talked through a little bit.
Yeah, I would say especially if you're looking at the investment today compared to what it'll be over time. So I know like at Sterling, some of the pages we built 6-7 years ago are still good lead generation entry points for our users today. So like I said, this is a long-term play. If you're going to be you kind of investing in it, you're not going to see a ton of that return up front here this year, but over time you're going to see massive amounts of it. Typically you're going to see depending on the type of keyword and what type of cases you're going to try to drive. There's usually about a 12 to 16 month ROI period, but then you're going to see that return come back. But you're going to see that return come back for years and years and years. It's like an annuity. Once you have it built and you continue to maintain it, which the maintenance of it is not expensive. It's the upfront investment of like, all right, I got to understand what this user is trying to infer by their search query, build an answer for them on a page that's user friendly. And then that's essentially an annuity that you've built. And now it's going to pay for itself over the next 3, 5, 7 years, assuming you continue to maintain your website, which I said that's not the expensive part. The expensive part is like you got to invest in it today, and it's going to pay you over time, and it's fairly significant. So like if you're really looking at what does it look like for a family law firm, most family cases are going to average between $7,000 and $10,000. So just for easy math, if you look at a $10,000 case, if you are SEOing your location page, you might have to spend $20,000 to $30,000 to get it to rank in your particular city, but then you're going to generate 3 or 4 cases from that every month after about month 6 to 7. So you're going to see that ROI come back, and you're going to see significant gains from that, especially over the coming years. But you have to put the investment in up front. That's just what's required to play this game. And typically you get better quality traffic, better quality users, because these are all the people that are actually doing the research versus the users typically that you get through paid, especially when it's not optimized really well with really good offline conversion tracking. You're going to get more of the responsive people that I would, it's unfair of me to say this, but my belief is people that click on paid search ads, they are typically in an emotional state. They're not thinking as much. They're not researching as much. They're typically worse buyers that have less disposable income because they're more knee jerk, and that's kind of how they live their whole life. So they typically don't have a lot of assets in reserve. So that's why paid search typically doesn't work really well unless you've integrated really good offline conversion tracking to target those different user metrics. But with SEO, you're getting more of the slow and steady. I'm going to research, I'm going to read, I'm going to plan, I'm going to find all the information I need to find ahead of time. That's a different type of user and buyer in the funnel than it is for a paid search person. So they're 2 very different users typically. And you're going to get typically higher case values, better overall conversations from your SEO generated leads than you are from your paid leads.
I think the annuity analogy is the right way to think about this. Put the work in, get the optimization and the authority going, and then you're gonna benefit from that for a long time.
What's really great now with AI and like the ability to leverage AI to continue to build out your website is you have what are called like subqueries of primary queries. And if you can like really start understanding and doing the research in what are the subqueries. So for instance, like when you're using AI, a lot of people are using it voice to text. Like they're literally talking into the chatbot and they're describing their situation. I'm a 40-year-old man. I'm married for almost 10 years. I have 2 children. I own a business. I have a 401k. I have a life insurance policy. I have all of this stuff going on. My wife doesn't work. We homeschool our kids, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm literally telling you exactly my scenario right now. So all of those different things have different subquery intentions that you can then attach to your divorce underneath your divorce lawyer page for your location. You can build tons of supporting content all around all of these sub niche topics. And then when I talk into the chat GPT to start doing research for what should I do, what type of attorney should I look for, what are the things that I should be preparing myself for, at the very end of all of that research and querying, with whether I'm using Grok or OpenAI, it's going to say, okay, based on your scenario, here are the three or four people in your area that would be good to work with. And it's going to use all of that context. So if on your site you're not talking about any of that context, you're not going to show up for that query. So you might show up for the base query, but you might be overly too generic. And that's where everything's going, from both an SEO perspective as well as from an AI perspective. It's really understanding the subqueries. So what we're seeing is people that really dominate primary queries, they're actually struggling on some of these longer tail ones because they're not represented there, and there's no content to support their efficacy in that space. So they need to continue to build out supporting content for that, which is just normal SEO work, but now it's a lot easier because we can identify the subqueries real fast with AI.
Hey, family law firm leaders, my partner, Tony Carls, just released his book where he lays bare our precise blueprint for growing sterling lawyers from 0 to 17 million. This is the blueprint that we still use daily. And Tony explains it in very simple terms. The truth is, this is not simple to do. Success requires and demands hard work, but if you have the patience and the work ethic to do it, your family law firm will succeed.
Yeah, I don't want to have our audience think that we're just pro SEO and not acknowledge that the landscape is and has fundamentally changed, which is our third point. And the facts are there, right? Like AI overview triggers almost 80% of legal queries. Organic click-through rate has dropped. Zero-click searches are going up. But the AIs are getting smarter. I remember when ChatGPT first came out, you and I were having a conversation about, oh my gosh, we're going to be able to produce so much content and do it at scale. And what we didn't realize is that the content wasn't there yet. The AI engines weren't there. They weren't producing great content. And so sites we saw got hit because it was just spammy AI content. And so how are you thinking about this landscape change, given the factors that we know today and the realization that AI is only going to get smarter?
The approach of just spin up spammy content doesn't work because it's hard to organize spammy content. It doesn't have an intention. It doesn't have a point. So what you really need to understand are kind of the clusters of content and how those subquery of intentions kind of break down from a topical cluster perspective. So what that allows you to do is then be pretty strategic with how you're then talking about these different subquery topics. So like what I mentioned is a whole bunch of different situational contexts. So one of the things that we do on the Sterling side is we have authoritative content regarding each of those different types of topics that are more authoritative and not situationally dependent. And then we also have basically story-based content that actually describes very specifically a scenario, and we use that content to support what we would call those the prior pieces pillar content that are more for AI, for clients, for searchers, but then we're also supporting it with a lot of story-based content that essentially kind of helps connect all of the nuance, and then we use interlinking strategies on our site to make sure that we're re-referencing the most important points and ensuring that the bots and the crawlers understand the architecture of our content clusters.
It's going to continue to evolve. And I think being on the edge and understanding that this is a moving target is why you need an expert in the room to help navigate these changes. Moving right along to number 4, and this is something we talk about so much, is that family law clients search for a long time. spouse doesn't wake up one morning and just decide, all right, we should get a divorce. It is happening over months and sometimes years. And so talk to us about the 5-stage journey that you've seen happen at Sterling as well as so many of our other clients.
Yeah. So I think this is super important to have an understanding of. And it's why building out useful, valuable content for your site is super important, because you can be with them along their journey. And it does take 18 to 36 months. We've done a lot of case studies with people that we actually served, and we've explored their journey from way before the point at which they contacted us, all the way through the point at which they contacted, through the end of the case and after. So we've kind of done these different case studies, and we found on average, it's about 18 to 36 months that they are starting their exploration process of, what do I do with my life? And where do I need to go? Is divorce an option? Is therapy an option? Can I repair this relationship? And they become what we would call problem aware. And they're then going to kind of go through this process of really trying to explore, what are they going to do with this problem? And you want to be with them along the way. So you want to talk about these topics. They're then going to get into a solution exploration. It's kind of going to go in two different paths, because stage one is my marriage over? Stage two is, okay, I think it's over. What are my options? Like, do I get a divorce? Do I just stay because of the kids? Like, they're going to explore a whole bunch of potential solutions that is going to then lead them to the next step, which is looking for who can potentially help me. This could be a therapist that then goes back into that I explored that independently by myself. I'm not being respected. Now I got to process that. Now I'm going to go back into this. Okay, well, can we do mediation? Do I need a lawyer? Can I do this myself? They're going to go through all of these different permutations of, like, who's the right provider for me, right type of provider for me. That's where you're going to get, different types of queries. You're then going to kind of get in the decision phase. And this is kind of when it's going to speed up. So basically those first 3 stages, that's really like 36 months ago till about within the 60-day period before they're actually going to pick up the phone for the first time and call you, the law firm. So they've been in market for a long time. They know who you are. They've read your reviews. They've talked to people in the marketplace that know who you are and have an opinion about you. That's why reviews are so important, because you can easily get off their list, even if you have good content, but you have crappy service. Because they're going to get into this decision phase. And this decision phase is basically 30 to 60 days prior to actually contacting you. And that's where they're going to a lot of this is then they're kind of moving down the path. So they're going to start really doing validating their perspectives on here's my final short list, is what we call it, the top 3 firms that I'm going to potentially interview. And this point is really important, because what these people don't want to do is, after doing all of that research and all of this emotion, it's kind of like building and ramping to kind of the top of a roller coaster. They don't want to do the downslope a whole bunch of times where they're telling people their journey multiple times. So when they're in the decision process, this is where they're going to figure out who's their shortlist, and they're going to start calling. If your intake team can meet them where they're at, validate their emotions, and talk to them about solution moving forward, and have a good, meaningful conversation where they feel heard, not just feel like, oh yeah, we can help you, and then schedule a conversation and it's a 4-minute phone call. That's not what I'm talking about. Our average consultation scheduling calls are about 15 minutes, if 15 minutes. So some of them are a lot longer. Most of them are at least 7 minutes. Some of them are as long as 30. The whole point that we tell our intake team is, the longer you can talk with them and validate their emotions, the more likely they're not going to have another conversation with another law firm, because they feel heard from you. It's going to increase your closing rates. It's going to increase your show up rates. It's going to have a really good impact on that. So you want your intake team to pick up the phone, make sure you're answering the phone, make sure you're responding really quickly to web leads, and then you need to be on the phone with them for a while. They need to hear that they're validated. They need to feel heard. They need to feel seen. because they haven't been for a long time. And you're likely the first stranger outside of their network that they're telling that they're going to go through this process. So if they don't have to do it more than once, you're likely going to be the firm that they hire. And then they make their decision to hire. And then now you better have a good first 30-day process of onboarding them so that their expectations externally that were set by all the reviews and whatnot are met really good, and you have a good bank of credits, because stuff always goes wrong with cases, and you want to be on the good side of not asking for forgiveness too often when you forgot to maybe tell them ahead of time about what was going to happen at court, because that's going to happen because you have a full caseload and you might miss the communication. So like, how can you make sure you're building lots of relational credits with them in the first 30 days to have opportunities for leniency as the case goes on for about 12 months.
I mean, and all this, as it's applied back to SEO and website optimization, is that you have to be with them during this journey and understand that they may be in the research phase for a long time, and you need pages on your website to help address those needs without saying, call today, schedule your appointment today. Like, they're not ready for that. They just want to know, what the hell am I going to do with my life?
Yeah, what might alimony look like? What are different child placement arrangements? What does child custody even mean? Because does that just mean time with my kid, or does it mean something else? There's a whole bunch of questions. What happens with the house? Do they get my retirement? There's all of these questions they don't have answers to, and they're going to search for them. So like, if you don't have answers for them, somebody else is going to have answers for them on their site, and they're going to be the ones that are getting these brand credits to them, so that when they do pick up the phone and call, they've seen you 30 or 40 times prior to that. So you want to be that firm. You don't want to be the firm where it's the first time you've called, your intake person's having a bad day in the morning, they're hungry for lunch, and they're just kind of crabby, and now they've had a bad interaction and only one data point for your firm, and it's not a great one, because we see that all the time with our clients. Thin websites, not a whole lot of content, and then they put all of their dollars into, like, we better have a good intake call, but then they don't answer the phone, and there's a whole host of potential issues as it pertains to sales, and we wonder why we can't grow our business and increase our retainers. It's because we're not really thinking about the sales process.
I think, our final point is that this isn't just conjecture. This is what, you and the team have built from zero to over 18, 19 million in revenue. And I think the thing that I respect about you the most as it pertains to this topic is your ability to think through the scenarios in which the law firm team is going to encounter, understanding that this is a long process and that we need to build calculators and pages. And, sometimes that's hard for our clients to understand that, like, wait, I'm going to build a page that isn't going to create a case. It's like, yeah, because you got to add value to your audience and become that authority in this space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Because the more value you can give them up front, the easier it is for them to say yes when you start asking them for a bunch of money. And like, that's what we want to do. So how can we increase the closing rates? Because lawyers' times are super valuable. So if we're wasting time in the consultation room, not closing deals, or we're wasting our intake team's time because they're maybe not that great at the sales process and building value on that phone call, like we can set this all up differently so that they've experienced a bunch of value ahead of time and they feel really good about you and your brand. So do you have useful content? Do you have, in terms of calculators and different content on your website, are you creating videos that are walking through different topics, not necessarily giving legal advice, but talking about what potentially happens in some of these scenarios, getting your face out there so people can start experiencing you. You feel like a celebrity to them. Like, all of these things actually work. So it's important to think about their psychology in the sales process, because that's actually what makes this thing home.
Love it. Well, if you're listening to this and you enjoyed this conversation, we are going to spend the next 4 episodes diving deeper into this playbook. The world is changing very fast around us. And so we're hoping to add as much value as we can, what to do in your first 90 days, how to measure real ROI, how to adapt to this kind of zero-click landscape that's coming on board, and how to scale your firm leveraging AI. So follow along so you don't miss a step. And if you're still skeptical, start with one of our previous episodes on why SEO is still worth investing in for family law firms. Tony, thanks so much for your time today.